Ludus, Vulpes.
Welcome to Ludus, Vulpes. My name's Kirsty.
I'm Phil.
My name's Matt from Board Game Picks.
And today we're going to run through our top games of 2022.
Oh, yeah.
It's that time of the year.
It's a good game.
Yeah, we're kind of... We are probably late to this video, but we're late to this video for, I think, pretty good reasons. We wanted to consolidate a couple of plays of games that we maybe played 2 or 3 times and maybe get a 4th play in. We wanted to be in a really good place to give you our genuine opinion of what we felt were our... For me, and I'll caveat my little set of rules, that were new releases during 2022 and that I have thoroughly played and I've also thoroughly enjoyed. So my sort of key metric is, did I enjoy it? Did I have a good time and was it fun?
Yep.
Yeah, I've definitely got some fun games on there this year that I might not have put on in other years. I also like my strategy games, so they've made it. I think I might have brought too much back from Germany, so I've still got a bunch that I haven't got around to, so maybe you'll see a video on those. But yeah, I'm really happy with my top 10. Top 3 was quite hard this year because it was a really strong year for gaming, I found. So it'd be interesting to see what's made your lists.
Any particular rules you added into your list?
It had to be released in 2020. I had to have played it more than twice to be in, and I don't mean just a little half game or example demo round at an event. This was owned and played, or owned by one of the 3 of us and played.
Or owned by someone else and played a few times.
As long as I played it more than a minimum of 2 times.
So shall we work backwards? Because starting at number 10 seems sensible.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to Kirsty, Matt, and me.
Why? Why are we doing that?
Just for all kinds of reasons. So just a word of warning, Kirsty and I play games together a lot. Okay. We like the similar games, so we could have a lot of crossovers in this list. So
I'll break it up a little bit.
So Matt is going to break it up and intersperse some variety into this list. So Kirsty, Matt, myself. Kirsty, over to you.
So my number 10. Is Formosa Flowers from Taiwanese Board Games. Now, Formosa Flowers is one that we learnt while we were in Essen, wasn't it? Essen Spiel.
Yes.
And we're invited along into the evening to learn and experience this game. And it was a fantastic little game.
It was. You brought me back the next day to teach me. It was really good. I liked it,
So it's a little set collection game where you've got night powers and day powers and different icons to collect alongside the sets of numbers. And it was just a beautiful little game. It doesn't take too long. It's not too much of a table hog.
It's a little bit thinky as well, isn't it? It's like a little bit of planning here. What am I going to take and what are you going to take?
Yeah.
And I think,
no, it's a really nice little game. I thoroughly enjoyed our plays of it. And,
beautiful artwork.
Very clean artwork.
Yeah. It's it's quick and easy to pick up the rules, and it's a nice small box to fit on the shelf. They've been very sensible with the shelf size.
They've picked small format cards.
Yeah.
They've kept the content of the cards crystal clear, and so you're playing with it's almost a travel game.
That's true.
Yeah. And the box size, as I mentioned, is ideal, which meant we could fit few more games back, bringing them back from Essen. So yeah, overall, that was my number 10.
Well, I had such a good time at that stand. We played another game, an older game called Vegetable Stock after that, and that was really good. I think that's a 2019 game, but it's got loads of cool titles in there.
I really like the Taiwanese board games because they've always got a slight puzzle in them. And I like that it makes you think about things rather than just I'm going to do that because that's the next logical thing to do. It's actually is that there's different options here, and I think that's shown in Formosa Flowers as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Talking of puzzles, my number 10 is by Jules Massoud, and it's called Acropolis. One of my most played games of last year. It's a tile placement game with certain rules where you have to have a barracks on the outside and the merchants can't all be together. What are the things that they've got in there?
Temples need to be surrounded.
Yeah,
the housing districts connected.
That's it.
Gardens, just anywhere for gardens.
That's it. So you're scoring through tile placement, which is raising. You get ×2, ×3 multiplier, and you've got to get stars that match that particular. So you need blue stars to grow your housing area. Just found the whole experience. Haven't done the variety. There's a whole other layer in there as well.
Over and there's an extra element of scoring.
Yeah. Well, you said about a fun factor this year. It's just a smile all the way through. It's a real thinky game. Great with 2, 3, 4. It's a really smooth mechanism of buying tiles where you can cover up a quarry and that generates resources to help buy better tiles if that's what you want to do. It's almost like the perfect filler for me and my family. It's hard to fault.
I think that's a fair assessment of Acropolis.
So great work. Who's released that one? Can't see, but yeah, it's Acropolis by Jules Massoud. Really, really good. My number 10.
Perfect.
So my number 10 is a game that we picked up at PAX Unplugged and is Animals in Espionage by Twin City Games.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Animals in Espionage does something. It's a splitting game. So you got a set of cards, you split them, and then your opponent decides which to keep. So it's I split, you keep, and then you get whatever's left. And the mechanic's quite a nice way of working a 2-player game.
Yeah.
And it's about you're trying to collect based on who you think the opponent's spy is. You're trying to keep them out of your camp, and you're trying to draft your spies into their camp.
That sounds awesome.
So it's fun.
Never heard of it. It sounds really good.
Really nice set of mechanisms. Plays in about 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-player only game, so that might put a few people off, but actually it's really worth a pick up, and it really works really well at 2 players. The artwork's really nice. It's Animals in Espionage, so think of animals dressed like James Bond. That's your kind of art.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Really nice game. Really clean mechanics, and once you start playing, it's one where you finish and you go, like, I can do better next time.
I'm going to beat you. Yeah.
And it's one of those 2-player competitive games that is it's not sort of, when I say bitchy, it's not, you're not sort of punching hard into your opponent and knocking them all over the place. They get a lot of choice. But at the same time, by the end of it, you'll either be a little bit frustrated because your choices haven't quite worked out, or you'll be like a little grin on your face as your
sounds like good design. That does.
It's a really tidy design. So Animals in Espionage is my number 10.
You can really poker face it as well when you play it. Yeah, and be like, oh. And then move things across, and then he takes it. It's like,
oh, very cool.
So it's a really, really good game. Definitely worth a pick up.
Excellent.
So that was my number 10. Kirsty, on to your
number 9. So my number 9 was another one from Essen, which unfortunately when I got to the stand at Essen, it had completely run out. So I quickly popped onto my phone and ordered it. And this one is Witchcraft. Now,
Moonlight Magic subtitle?
Yes, possibly. Yeah. Now, it's a fantastically beautiful game, Witchcraft. Lots of kind of beautiful, I'm trying to think of the tones of the colours, kind of like oceanic colours, so purples, blues,
don't know teals. This game, I can't picture it.
I'll show you in a minute when we finish filming. And it's stunning. But one of the things that really drew me in with this game wasn't just the clever gameplay or the way that you select the cards and, the recipe fulfillment of it when you're, collecting ingredients to then cast a spell. It was the artwork. Okay. Now, it's a coven of witches, and you're playing as a coven of witches. They're all female. They're not drawn as most witches are drawn. They're drawn as realistic body sizes. Okay. And I tell you what, it's such an empowering thing to see as a woman is realism in art, but in a really nice kind of, it's like everything's done in those colours still. So it's really funky and cool. And it just really drew me in. And when I looked at it at Essen, I'd never even played it, and I bought it So I had no idea really of, I had a little bit of a chat with the designers and the artist, and it was purely just that artwork and the imagery just drew me in, and I knew I wanted to own it. Possibly slightly to do with the hues and colour are like my favourite like colours as well. But as you'll see probably hopefully from above is the stunning artwork which brought it in, and it's a really, really nice game.
Yeah.
Again, another really decent box size.
Yeah.
And it's really good quality cards, and you also get little gems in there which you can use to power things up as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was my number 9. Which
sounds magic.
Exactly.
It's a nice little game.
Yeah, I need to be taught that one as well.
Yeah, we will do.
No crossover so far.
No.
We're all on track.
We have only named 4 games so far.
Yeah.
Not far to go.
No.
My number 9 is by Eric B. Vogel, and it's a game called First Empires. First Empires, when we had a little play together.
We did.
And the theme of the game is everyone's a different faction starting on a map of the world. We all roll dice, and you're trying to progress up tracks, which scores you points. I'm pushing Phil out of a certain area, and Kirsty's then pushing me out of an area. We're attacking, and ultimately you want to spread out as much as you can to claim different areas. It's just really clean design, very simple, colourful. Really enjoy it. I've played it with 3 different groups, and it's been a hit every time.
Yeah, so, it's definitely a game that I think if I'd have played it more, it might well have made my top 10.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say that.
I was hoping it was 2022, and I went back and had a look at my BG stats that I'm now using thanks to you two.
Hooray!
I was like, yeah, that one's going in the list. So yeah, my number 9. If you play with a group, it's place 5. Definitely check out First Empires.
I thought it was a fantastic way to kind of teach area majority.
I agree.
Actually,
it doesn't feel too conflicted,
no,
does it? Because sometimes you can get bullied or picked on, but the game pushes you around different areas.
Yeah. I remember thinking, oh, can we play that again?
I think we did. Yeah.
We played Smartphone Inc. then, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We did. That was a good game.
Yeah.
So, Matt's already mentioned my number 9, but it's not a crossover. My number 9 is technically released in 2019, but wasn't available or hasn't been available over here until 2022. So I have picked my number 9, Vegetable Stock.
No way! What a great game!
Yeah, and it is a 2019 release, but it's the copies that have made it into Europe.
In Taiwan it was.
2022 release.
Gotcha.
And so a couple of things. I'll talk more about the game. Vegetable Stock. We got a video. Watch a video. Fantastic.
Yeah.
We just play a game.
There's a video on animals and espionage as well.
Yeah, in about 15 minutes.
That's good.
And Vegetable Stock is you're drafting cards into your hand. There's a card left over at the end. It then goes. It then increases one of the 5 vegetable stock, as in a stock market.
Yeah. Gives it a little bump.
Yeah, it gives it a little bump. If anything gets to 5, it then resets back to 1, so your hand is suddenly...
It's worse than that. No, it resets to 0. You have to get like twice to get back up there. Yeah, it's hard work.
And so everyone, it's a vicious little game that has everyone grinning all the way through. And that to me was like, it was a bit of a revelation playing Vegetable Stock, because it made me grin all the way through. And it reminded me, not in how the game plays or in any other way, the table talk reminded me of Chinatown.
Yeah, oh really?
The table talk, not the gameplay. Nothing to do with the gameplay, but the table talk, the way players interacted at the table, just reminded me of Chinatown.
There's definitely a bit of psychology. And it plays 6 as well, which is really good. Yeah.
And he plays 6 in 15 minutes, which
it's good.
Thank you. And I just want to last little comment on 2 games that have been mentioned. One Vegetable Stock, one Formosa Flowers. Formosa Flowers is as a traditional Taiwanese card game played with a normal deck of cards originally, and it's been adapted and streamlined. Vegetable Stock was originally an educational tool used in Taiwanese schools to teach young children about how the stock market works. And it's been taken, streamlined again, and put into a nice little package. But they're both adaptations of things that have been used elsewhere. And they provide interesting puzzles, I think, for both of them.
Yeah.
And so my number 9 is Vegetable Stock. We all played it.
That was a good find. I brought that home with me.
Yeah. I think we all did.
Actually, there was a temptation to bring like 5 or 6 copies and just start flogging up. But yeah,
might crash the stock.
It's a great little game. My number 9.
Okay, so immediately on to number 8.
Indeed.
So, my number 8 almost made it onto my most anticipated games of 2022.
Almost.
However, I couldn't, or maybe it was my Essen list.
Okay.
I couldn't get in my head around the artwork.
Right. I'm intrigued.
Because the artwork looked like a squish fish.
What game is it?
It's one that I picked up at PAX America after playing it and me wanting to play it because I wanted to know if the artwork was a blocker. Right. And quite obviously, as I purchased it and played it lots of times, it's not. And that game is Featherlight.
Ah, okay.
Now, Featherlight is what I would say is probably the most interesting, quick, easy to learn, easy to pick up and easy to understand version of games such as Red Rising, Fantasy Realms, any others you like to input here as I'm having a mind blank.
Grove, which no one will have heard of, but it's fab.
It's a fantastic game. And effectively, you have a hand of cards and you are amending and changing the rules of your cards based on what you have in your hand and what's available in the nest.
Yeah.
You continue to change them out until one of the 2 piles of available cards have gone. And the thing that blocked me was this artwork, because the back of the cards got this flat fish looking bird, which actually we researched, looked into.
Putu owl or something like that.
Yeah, Putu owl, and it does actually look like that. It's obviously just not multicoloured like it is on the picture.
Gotcha.
But interestingly, I showed one of my friends the box, and she quoted, "Is that a dead fish?" And so it wasn't just me. It's it's a specific artwork choice.
See, that's the kind of thing that might affect its sales, isn't it? So it's interesting.
Think so. Because it didn't make I think it was my Essen list. It didn't make my Essen list because I was uncomfortable with the way it looked. However, the first game we played when we arrived at PAX was Featherlight. And I wanted to immediately buy it, but because we had it really restricted, we went hand luggage only. We went very, very light, and I waited till the next day to buy it because I wanted to make sure what else I was going to buy. But it's fantastic. It's really, I think it's like a stepping stone into that style of game. That should be the one that's first.
So is it out now in English?
No.
Okay.
I bought it in America because you couldn't get it in the UK.
Okay.
It might be available.
I don't think it is yet in the UK.
I mean, if
it's a good game, it'll get picked up and get distributed. So it'll happen at some point.
It does a few things that hand management games don't always do. So there's a couple of complaints on BGG. One is that you can't increase the number of cards in your hand past 5. There's no Fantasy Realms, Red Rising, or both of them have a way of increasing the amount of cards in your hand. The thing that I think Featherlight does superbly well is make use of the table. And the nest on the table to incorporate that into your point scoring. And also, you will see more cards in the deck than you will in Fantasy Realms or in Red Rising each game. So you've got a really good chance of finessing your hand.
Yeah.
And I still feel like hand management games like that are still a bit in their infancy. There's not many of them out there. And they're not doing it. Feels a bit like Dominion and deck building at the start of deck building, where Dominion picked it up and did something new and different. And then other people have created more elaborate games like Clank, for example, off the back of it. It feels like that kind of hand management game is at that infancy, and maybe something will come off the back of it sooner or later.
Yeah, interesting.
I like the fact that you're limited with the number of cards that you hold, in your hand. Because if you get the ideal situation, you can push down the smaller pile of cards and just get through the cards quicker. Yeah. If you need to go slower and take your time and amend what's out and amend your hand, you choose the larger pile. So actually it's, they start off even, just to clarify. It's not like you're not cheating.
This is why you go like this.
Yeah, this is why it's like that. But, you don't see, So the only time you see the art where it made me uncomfortable was the back of the card, which I'm not looking at, and it's not available in the nest. So,
you could get some cool card sleeves.
Yeah, maybe. But that was Featherlight, and that's my number 8.
Sounds cool, and that's here now. We can have a game of that at some point, can't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Very nice indeed. My number 8 is a little game called Ostia by Totsuko Chuo.
Nice.
I've written down it's a Mancala and Rondel, which Kirsty renamed a Rondala.
Yep. You got it.
It's essentially the theme is discovering new cities, leaving the port of Ostia. You're building ships and spreading across a map. The map is lovely. The design is excellent. The components are fantastic. The thing that really stands out to me is the malice aforethought of generating resources by if I've got 3 ships, I'm going to generate 3 resources, which can be gold, wood, stone. And then, because there's 3 ships, I then count 1, 2, 3 on my mandala and it activates this action. And if you have to do that all game, you're constantly counting forwards and backwards. Luckily, there's a trade action and there's the ability, there's a wild action, I think, as well, which makes life a lot easier.
Administration.
But I think another few plays and it would have been a little bit higher, but I don't know how popular it's going to be, if it's going to fly under the radar or where it's going to sit on other people's lists. But for me, it was one of the best designs games I played in 2022. So highly recommended. Check out Ostia.
Yeah, it was a Kickstarter at the very start of 2022 and got shipped by the end of 2022. And is not just a beautiful design, but a wonderfully developed game as well.
I'd agree with that.
It feels like it has some real development time put in.
Yeah, it's genuinely hard to fault. I think it's been play tested well. It's been streamlined. There's nothing getting in the way apart from... Because it's such a high-level strategy game. You don't want to... What does this icon do? And what do these... It's a very clean design. You're just getting down to the strategy, which is something I really like. And you can power up your board. You build in this city. You take one of the building tokens. So that improves one of your actions on your rondel. It's just really wonderful. Very good game.
So my number 8 is Revive, which is a game of exploration and resource management and really fascinating card play, because there's some really interesting ways of how you activate and how you manage your cards during the game. And it was I don't think it was a surprise that it was a slick, well put together game this year, but it does a lot of things I like really well. You got a central board that's a shared resource. I really like that in games. And there are times, even in a 2-player game, there are times when you're like, I have to get there before Kirsty does, otherwise I'm not going to be able to position myself well for later in the game. So as the player count goes up, that kind of land grab, which it literally is a land grab, becomes more and more vital during the game. So there's some really interesting sort of movement mechanics. There's a really interesting sort of resource management idea within the game. And I just think it's overall, I like dystopian futures. I kind of like as well, so I like the setting.
You love a bit of resource management and a bit of cost benefit analysis. If I can do this, how far can I push this?
So for me, Revive, it's not higher in my list because there's games I had more fun with, but Revive was one of the sort of the sort of nice level thinky game that I played in 2022 that I thought actually. There's that and another one that actually made it higher on the list. That How
was the rulebook with that one? How did you find it?
The rulebook was excellent. That's no major issues with the rulebook. In fact, do you know what? I don't think I've read a really bad rulebook this year.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
Which is, I read a lot of rulebooks.
He reads the rules, so I don't have to.
But actually,
that'd be a good T-shirt.
But actually, I can't think of any like really atrocious rule books, and there have been over the last few years. There's been some like you develop a game, you don't develop a rule book, but I've not read a really bad one so far from 2022. That doesn't mean there aren't any out there. I am sure there are.
Touch wood.
So my number 8 was Revive.
Okay, on to number 7.
Number 7 coming up.
My number 7 is Planet Unknown. So Planet Unknown, I think it was definitely in yours in the anticipated games of 2022. I can't remember if it was in mine or if it was one that just missed off.
It was your number 1, I think, from memory. I think it was your most anticipated
possibly,
number 1.
Yeah, because the lazy season, it was a bit independent, and it was a bit
Tetris tiles.
Yeah, and it was a bit. Oh, let's just.
You don't mind a bit of space either, do you?
No. I like. There are some games that I wouldn't touch with the barge roll, but I what I really like about this game
There's
is...
a good top 10 list in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Top 10 game.
Yeah. So, I really enjoy the mechanic of how you choose your pieces and what that means for other people. So, it's got a Lazy Susan in it, which you may or may not know.
Which contains all the
Tetris pieces.
Yeah.
And the idea is that Earth has gone to shot. We need a new planet. Let's build a new planet. And we're all trying to fight to get to, you know, our planet's going to be the best planet. No. Like that. And it's going to be worth the most victory points.
Okay.
And so it's set, I think it's split into 6 sections.
No more,
maybe 8. So if I select a piece from my piece of the pizza, the others have to select from a piece of the pizza that is near you. And it's always the same area that you're taken from, but the difference being that the Lazy Susan moves around. So you've got a locked
so you
in
take
area.
from here, it moves around, you've got to take from a new area effectively.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it can leave some quite tricky like decisions on how to place and whether you crush your rover that goes around and collects the life pods, or whether you crush your life pods and think it's only worth a medal, we'll leave that. And if I put that down, it hasn't got water on it, I'm not going to be able to increase my resource tracks with the water, etc. And so it's quite thinky, but at the same time, it's a really nice, easy teach.
Yeah.
It's an accessible. Like,
Would you say it's a family game or family plus? Or
I've played it with my parents, and they like Ticket to Ride. They're like Acropolis kind of level games.
Yeah.
So, and they really enjoyed this one. And so that, in a way, that's kind of one of the ways that I judge a game, because if I can teach my parents it and they get it and enjoy it, then yeah.
So it plays well at 2, 3 and 4 by sound of it.
Yeah, it plays really well.
5
So
and 6, I think.
6,
Oh,
it plays
wow.
up to 6 players. So yeah, I really liked the Lazy Susan idea. I like the fact that it's kind of a spacey game, but not in the same way that all other games are space games, if that makes sense. And yeah, I think it's got really, it's just a little bit different. So that's my number.
Very cool.
You can play it as like New Adventures in Hate Drafting, though. You can force people to take
you can.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I have not
really
played
don't
that.
Want to.
And when we played it at Board Games last week, I think towards the end, when people realised it was about to end, people were starting to look around the board and don't know. Not for me. That kind of play is not for me.
Of course it isn't, Kirsty. Of course it isn't. We believe you.
Many wouldn't.
So yeah, looking forward to playing that at some point. It's one I haven't got to the table as of yet. My number 7 is a game called Come Together, which is a unique take on a worker placement. The theme is creating your own music festival. You have superstars and up-and-coming acts. You also have a field that you need to fill with tents and customers. You have to promote it through gaining newspaper and radio adverts. I really enjoyed this one. For me, it was my most anticipated game from Essen, and it's got the perfect level of complexity for me, but for my family, it's ever so slightly just a little bit too much going on. So if you enjoy medium to heavyweight strategy games with a unique music theme, it's very, very good. I really enjoyed this. We've had some great games of come together.
Yeah, the thematic element in the game is absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
The Chili Fox Games have created a game that it's another one where the table talk is always fun.
Yeah.
You're putting on shows, and you've also got on the cards, there's like the kind of not anagrams of games, but they're nods to games. You're having a laugh trying to figure out what the card is.
It's like Tina Towns, like Tiny Towns, and you've got Tiki to Ride, and things like that.
And that's the essence of the game. Is the cards you've mentioned. They you need to get the people, and those people then need to match the event. It's just really thinky, really well done. Doesn't overstay its welcome. And the unique mechanism for me in that one is that everyone can go and put a worker out, but then someone's got to be brave enough to activate it.
Yeah.
And Phil was being quite clever activating stuff that only he was benefiting from the next time we played.
Don't think we didn't notice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But it is a great, it's a really good game. A lot of fun.
Agreed.
I'd say it's extremely thematic, but also colour-wise.
Yeah.
It's got that
It's
real,
interesting, isn't it?
70s kind of vibe with the colour and the artwork.
They've
It's
definitely
really
pulled it off.
groovy.
Yeah,
I feel
agreed.
is the right word for it.
Yeah.
Groovy. Yeah.
That's my number 7, Come Together.
Nice. My number 7 is Scout from
Wow.
Point Games.
Okay.
It's a stupid little card game, in essence. Like it's clever though, and it's painfully clever, and I really like that kind of a group of people who sit down at a table, hold a hand of cards after you've decided which way up you're going to hold them, and start to play cards. It's another game where you can't restructure your hand as well, which is entertaining to watch those people with a little bit of OCD because you can see them twitching. But it's such a streamlined, smooth card game, and obviously with it being like an oink game, it's this big, it's absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of fun, and it's another game that I found myself grinning all the way through to however many victories I could manage at the game. But it does feel it's a little bit of probability game, it's a little bit of mathy game, and it's a little bit of poker. It's a little bit of playing your opponents around the table to figure out what they're doing. And all in all, from a card game, from a simple card game, it does everything I want it to do, and it does it well. The only thing that always makes the big question mark on Oink games, and it's every game they release, is I'm getting a box this big and it's costing me £20, and it feels like, or it might be £18, but it feels like a lot of money to spend on a small format game.
Yeah.
But actually, after you've played it, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
It makes sense now.
The money, the value proposition is actually there, because this is a game that is going to come out time and again at the like middle of a games day or start or end of an evening, just to fill off half an hour.
It's original. You can get a couple of plays in. I just think it fits a really good gap in the market.
Yeah.
So it's great.
It has a theme.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Apparently, you are scouting for different performers for the circus.
Yeah, carnival acts. Yeah. No, I don't see it. It's a really
circus acts, isn't it? Scouting for circus acts.
Yeah, it's a themeless
There are names
wonder.
on the cards.
Oh, okay.
It's a themeless wonder. So my number 7 is Scout.
Very nice.
On to number 6 already. So my number 6 has already featured on someone else's list.
Which is interesting, because it's the first of probably a whole raft of crossovers now.
Maybe. And
we had a good run, Phil.
We did. So my number 6 is from Hache Games, and it is Acropolis.
Ah,
now,
you have excellent taste.
It is actually, Acropolis last year was, I believe, my most played game. Because, as I said earlier, it's one that my parents can play, it's one that my sister loves, and it's one that it's a fantastic game. Obviously, as Matt said, you're building cities, you're scoring for those cities, depending on the number of stars that you have against scoring, so different areas. And yeah, it's a beautiful game. It's really, really well boxed, really, really well thought out. You can keep your 4 players separate to your 3 players if you're only playing 2 players. And I think when it came to unboxing, because we bought quite a lot. I think was it Expo? We bought this. Yeah. We bought Acropolis at Expo. We came back. I think you were like, "Oh, I'm going to go in the shower. Do you want to start popping Acropolis?" And so I opened the box and was like, "Yeah, I'll just read my book," because it all comes pre-popped, which is nice.
Yeah, it's not a lot of rules. No. It's got that depth to it.
Yep.
That's the hard part. Kirsty said something to me last year that I think is really important. Is accessibility. It's got that accessibility fact. You could buy it at Expo, read the one-page rules and play it then and there.
And what's another thing which is just, I cannot tell people who create games enough, a player aid. Oh my God, a player aid
for
each player is so vital. That game, I've had virtually no questions from anyone that I'm teaching because they've got a player aid right there. So purples, hang on, it's okay, I don't need to, they need to be surrounded. Okay, And honestly, the number of games that miss out on that, it's a piece of card.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Why do all that hard work and then not spend an extra few pence to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic game. And I think,
yeah, if you play with families or children, it's a really good game to get people into the hobby.
Yeah, it's a fantastic, as you said, accessible. It's easy to pick up. It's a game that you could almost leave on the table with the player aids and some basic instructions, and people can almost teach themselves. And that is wonderful.
Amen,
so that's
sister.
My number 6. Exactly. What's yours?
Number 6. Let's have a look. Number 6 is by Simone Luciani and Danielle Tascini. Action points, contracts, endgame bonuses. Tilitum. Tilitum, I think it's pronounced. It's a strategy game where you are travelling around Europe and you are winning the king's favour. You are generating resources and building columns whilst working on a player board. You two are going to love Tilitum.
I'm very much looking forward to this one.
It's a fantastic game. It is quite heavy on the strategy side because you have to plan to be on the other side of the map. If you've ever played a game on a map and you have to be in different areas, there are 5 locations where you have to be taking part, either by having your merchant or your architect must have been there to build a column or build a cathedral in that part of the city. The most interesting part of the game is the dice selection. There's a wheel of 6 actions. You pick up your grey 3, that generates 3 stone, but it then gives you 4 action points. So those 4 action points, wherever you've pulled it from, could be to move your architect, to get the king's favour, to get gold. But you've also got a player board where you're trying to fill the houses with different people, and that gives you other rewards and it gives you an uplift. If you're into action, selection, resources, resource management, and travelling around Europe, it's definitely one to check out. That's Tilitum, my number 6. Thank you.
So my number 6 was a lesson pickup, and I had 0 expectations for this game.
You still bought it?
Kirsty bought it.
Oh.
So I had 0 expectations for this game. I wasn't sure what it was going to be. I seen the demo being played and thought it looked a bit bland. I wasn't really convinced I was going to enjoy the game.
I don't want to shout names out because they might be on your list somewhere else. So, better not.
What's this one then?
And so my number 6 is Evergreen by Horrible Games.
Yep.
And they're 2 releases this year. Both look a bit bland and tasteless, but are both very interesting. With Great Split and Evergreen, and they both of them play on these like beautifully white boards, almost, but they're layered boards and like segmented pieces. And Evergreen is you are growing trees on a planet base and collecting points based on the sun and your largest area of forest. There's a really fun mechanism that where you're in similar vein to vegetable stock. You're drafting cards. Whatever's left goes into a fertile lands
area.
And the fertile lands dictate how many points are available at the end of the game for big trees in that colour land. Except there's an arid card that can just wipe out one of those fertile. Well, not wipe out the previous card played. And so there's a bit of hate drafting going on, which is kind of fun. But at the same time, the way the game's been put together gives it a wonderful tactility. Like the pieces slot into your board, you actually see the planet grow. And for a game that I thought from looking over shoulders at Essen, thinking that's a little bit bland. Actually, when you're playing the game, absolutely fantastic. You've got some good decisions to make, continuously good decisions to make. The four actions in the game, it's all there is, so it's easily teachable. There's a couple of tracks that you can push along that give you a little bit of additional benefit. You get to play two actions a turn, and the game just goes on at a real fair clip, and the game ends much faster than you want it to. You're kind of like halfway through doing what you want to do, and you're like, oh, hang on, I've only got four more actions left. I need to really think about what I'm doing. So the game is absolutely slick, and it's a beautiful level of production. The rulebook is really straightforward. The teach is really easy as well, and people will get it, and that's really nice. And it's a mid-weight game that I love a heavy game. But this year, I've really valued those mid-weight games because you get to play more of them than the really heavy games. You get to play more of them, and they do bring a level of fun to the table that some of the heavier ones, you know, it's great to sit and ponder those moves in coffee traders. But at the same time,
you need some in-betweens.
Well, we played 3 players in an hour and had a fantastic experience. And the 2 takeaways for me was that the card play is fantastic. It's deliciously difficult because I need to take that to improve my area. I need to take that yellow card. But it's leaving a green card, and Phil's already scoring too many points in that area. So I should take the green card, shouldn't I? So I'm depriving Phil. But then Kirsty's coming in with her own colour, and she's ahead of me in that colour.
It's a wonderful hate draft
and
experience.
The second thing is that when you're looking down at your board, you have to. The sun moves around the board, and it's affecting the growth. You're like, well, if I put this here next turn, I'm not going to get any growth on that particular tree. So you're always trying to balance out how can I grow stuff through actions and where the sun's going to be next turn. It's a very clever game.
Yeah, it's really nice to do.
I also really like the mechanism of the little lakes that feed everything nearby, and also the bushes that then connect your scoring. Because each round you also score your largest connecting area of living.
I think it's left an impression on all of us, that one.
Really surprised me how good a game it was.
That was on my, I think that was actually one of the first games I picked up at Essen. I ran over, got in the queue.
You were running?
Yeah, you were running over there getting in the queue while I was waiting to get Revive, Come Together, and anything else that was in that
in Matigo / Chili Fox /
that was a long line. But yes. So Evergreen, my number 6, and that's at halfway point now.
Wow.
We're into the top 5.
Not too many crossovers so far.
There's been some good games.
If you've enjoyed the top 6, I asked 10 to 6. At this point, if you've got any comments to leave, what you think about our selection, please drop them in the comments below, and we'll do our best to answer as many as we can.
If you're not a subscriber, why not? Get subscribing now.
So,
right, on to number 5. Number 5.
Get serious now.
So my number 5.
Ignore that first. Ignore all that. This is the real half now.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, my number 5 has already been mentioned.
Not unfortunate. It must be a good game.
Yeah. It is a good game. It has a slight legacy element.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And it's got an extremely clever mechanic depending on where you place the card.
Yes.
And this game is Revive.
Ah.
So Revive, you are working your way across the planet, as Phil mentioned, this land in the board in the middle. But each player has their own player board that you are trying to push up the points at the edge. And you've got all these different areas where you can have different actions and powers. And it depends on which way you place the card. So the card has a power at the top and the card has a power at the bottom. And you can also choose to put it in at the side if you allow yourself to have access to that. And it's just like, okay, well, if I want to allow myself to do everything that's green this go, I need to be able to have greens combined. But actually, that green card allows me to reset my switch. So actually, I want that accessible, but it's at the bottom. So I'm going to have it as a separate move away from the green and so on. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I've
heard it's great card play in the game. It's a totally unique mechanism.
Slight legacy elements we're currently playing through.
Yeah, it's like a mini campaign.
Yeah, micro, but enough to just change up the game a bit. But you can always play the base game as well, which is nice. And actually, it's complex without being too complex. It's quite enjoyable. You are exploring the land, and it's kind of made me think that I'm quite looking forward to Ice. I've backed Ice on Kickstarter, and I'm waiting for that one to be delivered, because in the same way that you are exploring in Ice, this one you are turning over the tile to reveal what the land holds and what benefits you get from it. And they're all mixed up and random, and you can get anything, and they all cost different, and you have to be able to afford them, and you access the sides and you get different benefits from them if you stretch out in a particular direction. Yeah, it's a really enjoyable game and fantastic team behind it. So I had faith in that one right from the start anyway. But also, I think the box art reminded me, for some reason, slightly of Boone Lake that we got in 2021.
That made you hesitant.
Yeah. But in the respect that they both had some kind of like flower on the front. But Boone Lake didn't really have anything to do with that. Whereas this one, it's quite obvious that that's like the growth and the new world.
The theme comes through, do you find?
Yes.
Kind of. It's not massively.
I think so.
It's not massively thematic, but it's nicely thematic.
It makes sense. The cogs help your mechanics and aid your systems and machines.
I feel like I've kept my eye on that one for years. It's been a long time coming out, that one. Yeah. So.
It's definitely, So that's my number 5. It's really clever because of the card mechanic.
I just want to say, people who are put off by the idea of a campaign, it's not a campaign.
No, it's not. It's not.
You can just pull the rule book out for the campaign elements and just read those rules and chuck them into the game if you want.
So it's just like new rules that are being
it's like a modular expansion almost. And, and I think the rulebook says after you've unlocked them, you can choose to add them in as a continuous rule change, or you can not if you don't want to.
So there's a switch on there that reactivates things. That becomes something else. I don't want to spoil things. You find it more useful, but I actually prefer the original. So it's it's just showing different possibilities. So
it's a strong year for Chili Fox, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Number 5. Number 5 is by Remo Conzadori and Marco Pranzo with endgame bonuses and track movement. If you like tracks, you're going to like Rise.
It's Rise. The board game.
even the way you select your actions comes out as a track, but it's got a very unique card. It's a graduated deck, and across the eras, when you put out a token, you can have an action here, and it generates free actions. So you can have free, take my action, or you can pay more expensive cards and get more free actions. Yeah. And my nemesis, Craig, throughout the game, we were balancing back and forth on our last play. The game is about the Industrial Revolution, and do you build this factory now, which then affects your pollution, but you can get your pollution back by taking newspaper actions. One of my favourite parts was the education, and you get extra tokens when you're doing education actions. So it's a permanent back and forth. It was really intriguing. I've not played anything quite like it before. It's by DLP Games and Capstone Games, so it's a great production as well. The art's really nice on all the cards. Just highly recommended, and one of the ones that just was surprised at how clever it is. I think they're first-time designers. What an absolute cracking game for first time.
Yeah, they've done good.
Yeah. If you like Euro games with great action selection and going up and down tracks and balancing everything out, it's almost track perfection.
Yeah.
That's Rise, my number 5.
That's a good description. Track perfection. So my number 5, so one of my highlights of 2021 was Bitoku by Joe and P. Milan.
Yeah.
And so I was excited.
I think I know what's coming.
I was very excited to pick this game up. And for me, and I know opinions on these sofas slightly differ, for me, Sabika, at my number 5, takes Bitoku and just pushes it to another level. I think Sabika is an absolutely fantastic game. There's a huge amount of stuff going on in the game. It feels, when you first sit down to play it, it feels quite complex and really chunky. When you start playing the game, there's a much more structured flow to how you implement strategy, and you can implement multiple strategies and successfully win the game. It's not a single strategy
game.
It's
not a one-trick
pony. Which I don't like one-trick games. So you are building and decorating the Alhambra Palace, and you're also then accessing ports to bring goods in, to ship goods out. You're carving beautiful poems on the walls. You're putting up frescoes. You're building gardens and mini palaces and gateways. And anyway, you're doing a lot in the game, and everything gives you points. In that respect, it's a bit point salady, but it all brings itself together in a really nice, organised and streamlined way. And I think for me, Sabika, if it hadn't been for another game a little bit higher on my list, would have absolutely smashed my sort of heavier strategy game. It's a mid to heavyweight game, and it would have really probably gone. It wouldn't have just jumped up one. It would have jumped up sort of 3 or 4 spaces if it hadn't been for another game that I've
You just cannot do everything you want to do in Sabika.
It's got a rondel.
The money is tight. The actions are tight. The resources are tight. The balancing, do I do this now versus I'll save it to do something else later. It's all incredibly...
Also, the Sultan's men. And women, it's just like, stop making my life so much harder.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you might end up being 1 coin short. It's a triple rondel, which gives you a lot to think about. But in a structured way, it's not. It doesn't overwhelm you in terms of choices. No. You use that once, and
and like you've got this debate early on with the poems, especially. Do I carve a poem that gives me an extra action that makes my poet more valuable? And it's a very good, very well developed, well thought out, and a good design. And it's definitely a game. If you enjoy Bitoku, you've definitely got the DNA of Bitoku in there, and it just pushes and nudges things to a little higher level for me. So my number 5 is Sabika. Absolutely fantastic game, and it would probably have sat at number 2 if it hadn't been for another game that's jumped in at number 2. So Kirsty, number 4. My number 4 has already been mentioned.
And stolen by somebody else.
By somebody. And my number 4 has a Crystal Palace vibe about it.
Oh, yeah.
In its...
So Industrial Revolution.
How it feels to me, but very much more track orientated.
Oh, I've got a feeling.
And that is Rise. Now, I really, really like Rise. I feel it's one of those games that I could just happily bounce around the tracks and go to the different areas. But I don't know why, but it just made me think so much of Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I think it is. It's sort of the theme.
Yeah.
Sort of the artwork. But it's also sort of the, well, if I do that, I'm going to have to pay that. If I'm going to do that, with if I build my factory, my pollution, etc. It's got that whole...
It's interesting you say that because the decision-making process gives it a theme, which is unusual. You normally get your theme from your art and maybe your action. But I've got to build this, I need to build this factory, but my pollution is going to be, so it's another way of getting a theme out of a game. So, yeah.
And it's one of those that I feel that I can just play it again and again and again, and it doesn't overstay its welcome.
In fact, we did the first time we put it on the table. It was like 3 plays back to back.
Yeah, it is that good.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the fact that it has that Crystal Palace vibe about it. Like Crystal Palace is one of my up there games. One day I will get it, but and I will bring it back.
Yeah. We've got it on a bit of a pedestal, Crystal Palace. It is a really good game. It's nice to have a good game to compare other good games too.
Yeah. And I just think it's, I really, really enjoyed it. And it's one of my highlights of the year.
It doesn't take that long to play.
No,
that's the beauty of it.
The iconography is just on point in that game. It just makes it so much easier.
The rules are nice and straightforward as well in terms of what you want to do.
You can walk up, you can understand. I think I sat down, and before you'd even said anything, I was like, does that mean that? Does that mean that? Does that mean that? You're like, yeah, you know the game, let's play. And when a game is that straightforward, when the iconography is that flawless.
Yeah, the only thing you have to explain really is the card selection mechanism. And the game pretty much teaches itself.
But then every game was different because it's different cards coming out in different order.
Yeah.
And the events are coming out, the free events are given in a different order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
number 4.
That's my number 4.
I think I might put it as my number 4 and 5. My number 4 is by German P. Milan.
Oh, another little
It's
crossover.
called Sabika. In Sabika, you are building the Alhambra, and the action you are taking reflect all the things you are writing poems. Your end game scoring is about poems. Your resources, do I spend these resources now and turn them into something that's going to benefit me straight away? or do I go and build a minor building or a large building? Do I get a storage box so I can hold more resources, and that gives you points as well. I love the actions where you have a card, and if you have a minor poem, you can get an immediate benefit, or you can get an ongoing permanent benefit. Even the shipping across the bottom of the map, it's just so well done. You're delivering goods. On the main rundown, you've got taking goods, you've got improving goods. There is so much you can do in this game. It's one of the best designed games I've played it probably in the last 5 years. The design is well play tested. It's just so well done for a triple rundown. It's highly recommended. If you like heavyweight games, it's heavy for me because you do have to do a lot of planning. But there's a lot of limitations on it as well in terms of what you're generating and what you can do next.
Yeah. So,
thoroughly enjoyed Sabika and look forward to his next game because Bitoku was absolutely fantastic as well.
I do think there are slight elements of Bitoku in it, like the track across the top in Bitoku.
The pilgrim track.
The pilgrim track is quite similar to the shipping track across the bottom.
It is.
Yeah. And I think it's quite... You see the elements of the other game in it, and it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, it is. And both games are absolutely beautiful to play. I'd like to look at as well.
Yeah.
I did feel like someone had chucked a mess of colour on the board when I first looked at Bitoku, but actually the graphic design is really good.
I think they're both in the region of £40 to £50. So what you're getting in the box versus the component quality of the art, it's just really well done. So hopefully we'll see what he does next year.
Yeah.
So my number 4 is I would say a medium weight Euro style game with a historical theme. It includes some tracks.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah. But these tracks are on the London Necropolis Railroad. So London Necropolis Railway, absolutely cracking game. Spielworks.
Knocking it out of the park again.
Circle in Squareville was a fantastic game of 2021 by Spielworks. One of the things they do well is they take a nice historical setting, they put a game around it, they teach you something, but at the same time, they develop and streamline a game so that game is good to play. London Necropolis Railroad is really straightforward to play, but my God, you've got some tough decisions. Like you're moving dead bodies out of London. That's the essence of the game. And you're putting them into a cemetery. You're taking mourners to the cemetery. There's victory points attached to all kinds of... every element of the game has got victory points. You're upgrading various elements of your service, whether it might be your sort of mourning room or whether it's your cemetery. Everything gets upgraded. Your action selection. The power of the actions gets stronger and stronger as you go through the game. But they never get to the point where... Because engine builders can get to a point where you only think with an engine building aspect, can get to a point where turns can take too long. Necropolis Railroad ends before turns get too long. And that's why I say the game is very well developed. Graphically, it's beautiful. It's really well illustrated. Graphic design is pretty good. I think there's maybe one icon that I was like, that's a bit baffling. But once you've played it once, it's kind of there or thereabouts.
That's your biggest gripe. It sounds fantastic.
And it plays so smoothly that I think the first time we played the game, we got to the end of the game before we'd even realised we were playing a game almost. It was like, it's ended.
Wow.
Let's do some points. And it was that slick that you would just, you sat down and the game was happening in front of you. And it's a really nice game. So my number 4 is London Necropolis Railroad. It's not the tracks we've been talking about, but it's a different set of tracks. And it's a fantastic game, so give it a go.
Okay. Top 3.
Yeah.
My number 3 is from Hachette Games, and it is Tribes of the Wind.
So just to be clear, it's distributed by Hachette Games. It's Le Bot de Jeu.
Yes, it is. Yeah, sorry. So, Tribes of the Wind. Tribes of the Wind is such a wonderful game. I love the element that the cards obviously are, they're two-sided. All cards are two-sided. However, the number of cards that you have of certain colours power up other players' game.
Right.
So if you can imagine, they're like racks that you put your cards into, similar to our card holders. And you put your cards in and you know, like, I don't know, the green ones are like nature and, you know, red are fire and yellows to do with your people and blues to do with water, roughly, for those that haven't played. But Phil might have, if there are,
if my neighbour has 4 green cards,
you may play this card, which allows something. But you don't know what your neighbour's card's going to say. And so you're trying to get the right mix of cards that you want to empower whilst keeping an eye on your neighbour's cards, the backs of them, obviously.
Is it a short game or is it a long game? How long does it play?
Probably about an hour and a half.
About an hour, yeah. Depending on how well acquainted you are with the game. And then you're also like building or restructuring the town, aren't you? So building in the trees, and trying not to get any pollution. And it's very, again, it's kind of futuresque game, would you say?
Sort of like the world's broken.
Let's fix it. Let's deal with the pollution.
Sounds like a unique use of cards. If you're monitoring what other people's,
very much
what you're picking up, what they're picking up, how can it benefit me?
In fact, actually, when I was looking at my list earlier, I realised that cards had got quite an influence in my games list this year. Because the cards in Tribes of the Wind, them being double-sided and the powers that they have. In Revive, them being like double-ended and you choosing which end you took. Multifunctions, that's it. And I feel that that's been really nicely implemented into games this year. It's also, the artwork is stunning in that game. It is Vincent Strait. But it's really, you feel the powers of the colours through the imagery. So the fires where you're burning pollution off, the yellow where you are blowing the pollution away and building things. The water is like purifying, and then the green is kind of nature-esque vibe, isn't it? Very, very roughly. But each of the images really, you feel that from them. And I think, it's a really good game. Definitely worth a play.
It's incredible to think that some of these games would have started out 2-3 years ago. And finally got to us in that state, and you match the art to it.
Nice development process together.
So
cool. That sounds good. I haven't played that one. I'd like to play that one.
We can play all of these. All of these.
My number 3 is by Gerard Asensi and Ferran Renalies. It's a deck bag pool building game called Lacrimosa. So you are gathering cards, you're buying cards and taking actions by sliding actions into your player board. And you can buy different parts of a Requiem. And ultimately, as you're travelling around a board, you don't want to lose certain actions, because if those actions are gone from if you've spent those cards, you can't move or you can't buy certain things. So the card play in it is just the cleverest thing. You've got an area majority part of the board where you are putting out quavers, and those quavers can help get you more gaming powers. It's just a really clever, really wonderful game. What else can you do?
Can you use other crisps other than quavers?
It is what's it as well.
Okay, cool.
There are other crisps available. But no, the card play in it's very clever. You've got the ability to move around the map because you're going around performing the memory of Mozart, and you're buying different parts of songs. So you can have opera music, and then you can buy church music, and then you can tap your cards to have the benefit, or you can sell the cards. So it's definitely a medium weight game. But if it's a second music theme, so I think this was also on my most anticipated list. But definitely want to check out if you like medium weight games. Brilliant theme, brilliant use of area majority across the bottom of the board. It's highly recommended. Lacrimosa.
Looking forward to playing that one.
You'll like that one. You will like that one.
Yeah. So my number 3 is a 3-way crossover, which is an appropriate place to have a 3-way crossover. Both Kirsty and Matt have both talked about Rise a fair bit already, so there is not much for me to add. Rise is tracks a board game, and it's what I what I really respect about Rise is the bravery of designers to say, actually, we're just going to do this, but we're going to do it so well that you're going to want to play it again and again and again and again. And the replayability's there. You are just picking a card to push a track, and it sounds so mundane, but the card selection mechanic lifts it beyond the mundane into really infuriating decisions about sort of, if I do that, it's going to cost me this, but I can then, and it really generates some really tough decisions about how you're going to maximise your efficiency within the game. Really tough decisions, and so Rise. Yes, it's a condensed mechanic, condensed pushing yourself up different tracks. One of the tracks even loops. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The newspaper track, but it does it very, very well.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's that opportunity for a designer to go, you know what? If I do this, what I'd be really curious about is see what the designers come up with next, because it'll probably incorporate something like that, but it'll bolt it onto some other aspect within a game. And I think that's the thing that we'll be looking for next, and whether they can produce that kind of slick output of the tracks element of Rise, and then push it into something else.
The clever bit for me, Phil, is that every track has got its own decision-making process. If I go here, then that Ganshon Clevers, that can help me on that track. And then if I can take this action here on the politics track, I can then do an action or education action. So you're always monitoring the tracks. You're involved in every turn, because there's end of round scoring. I need to see where you guys are. Are you scoring more points than me this round? So it's just an absolute joy to play.
Yeah, and I think that is probably a really good way of describing it. It's a joy to play.
Yeah.
Like it just plays. It's really nice. Anyway, Rise is my number 3.
So, final ones.
Yeah, last couple.
Number 2. Fortunately, my number 2 has already been mentioned, obviously. But this is a game which picked up kind of in place of another one in Essen.
Oh, yeah.
I was really hoping to pick up Pilgrim and ended up buying London Necropolis Railway, not knowing much about it.
Yeah.
And absolutely, thoroughly loving London Necropolis Railway.
Was it a big queue for this one, was it?
No, actually.
There
But
was a lot of disappointed people going, have you got Pilgrim here?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no.
But we'd picked up Square in Circleville the year before. Fantastic game. And obviously, Spielworks have always delivered. So it's like, well, we'll order that one and we'll pick up London Necropolis Railway. Fantastic colours, really nice greens, blues. For a game that is on such a dark theme, in a way, because it is historically accurate. You know, you do go through the stages of the years. There are changes that take place in the game halfway through. It's a nice, bright, colourful game, for bearing that in mind. And they could have gone down we'll keep it dark and morbid.
Because you're effectively moving corpses out of London because it's
there's no space to
so populated in there.
There's colour outbreaks as well.
But it's such a beautiful game. And it actually, like what they did with Square and Circleville, it highlights a point in history that would have, unbeknown to me, just completely, I would have never had any reason whatsoever to learn necessarily about that.
Yeah.
So I found it, A, educational, B, an absolute delight to play, and C, it's one of those that I think you could just keep bringing back to the table. It's got so much replayability.
It sounds like they really go through a due care and diligence process at Spielworks to make sure that the title comes out as well as it can be made effectively.
Yeah, and actually, I think Spielworks is probably one of my favourite producers of games, actually,
I'd agree,
because they might only bring out one a year, but what they bring out is fantastic, and they take their time doing it.
It's reliable.
The production quality is always really good. The rules are good. The box size is good. It's never oversized. It's accurate for what's needed. They're only going to ever make 1,000 of them. So if you're going to get it.
And they're doing it without Kickstarter, Kirsty.
Yeah.
They're doing it as a publishing
out of their own back
house.
pocket.
Put the money out there.
Yeah.
Take a chance.
I've got a lot of respect for small organisations such as Spielworks, and they deliver time and time again. So That's why London Acropolis Railway is my
Right,
number
we're
2.
playing that one tonight.
Okay.
You're on.
Decided.
My number two is by Javier Georges. It's called Carnegie, and you are moving workers around your player board. He has to go into the HR department and the mission department because he's got to build a building over here. So you're moving these workers around the board. You're also then watching what everyone else's workers are, because the action selection mechanisms, if you take the managerial action and you haven't got any workers there, you've got 3 workers there and I've got 1, we'll get some benefits, you won't get any. And it then impacts how many actions you can take on the board. There are training abilities, so you can improve your actions. You can build businesses. You can build, I think there's a bridge or some sort of, so you're building across America. So there's route building in it, and to be able to block people off and make donations, because Carnegie was famous for later life doing donations. So that scores you points if you can get into the right donations. There's a lot going on, and it's one where you have to play it 2 or 3 times probably to get the benefit. And some games you can put people off and you're not into it, but this one drew me in. It had that challenge of want to do better next time. But yeah, it's a wonderful game, highly recommended. Number 2 for me was a Carnegie.
I'm looking forward to playing this one.
You'll like that one.
I think it's interesting, that idea of, because I think it's a game of mindset sometimes. Like some gamers go out to win, some gamers go out to have fun, some gamers go out to just improve at what they did last time. And I think that's a really, that out of all of those mindsets is the one that I think sets you up best for playing a game again. Because it's too easy to just say, oh, I'm just going to lay back and have fun. And you actually find yourself slightly disappointed every now and again. Because you're losing games and you're never really getting into games. If you go out to win constantly all the time, you're going to be disappointed because there's always a better player than you. Or there's a player that has a bit more luck than you.
I can't help it, Phil. I'm sorry.
She's not joking.
No. No, not really.
So yeah, it's a nice mindset to have of like, how can I improve on what I did last time? And that's how I like to think about games.
Well, with that particular action selection mechanism, the boards are variable, so your every game is going to be completely unique. You might end up with 4 donations early on, or you might end up activating the south of America versus the east or west coast. It's just really, really clever. Definitely worth watching maybe before buying, just watch a playthrough. But yeah, it's a very, very clever game indeed. Looking forward to what they're doing next.
Exciting.
Okay, so my number 2 is another 3-way crossover. And it is the one that probably pushed the beaker down a little bit for me. It's I think it's a 3-way crossover anyway. No, I don't know actually. I think actually only Matt's mentioned it. I'm just so excited by it.
Let's hear it, Phil.
And my number 2 is Ostia.
Good choice.
Like honestly, it's like a form of torture.
Okay.
It's another one with tracks, isn't it? And I should have mentioned that end game scoring is really clever. I'll let Phil tell you about the end game scoring because it's punishing and rewarding at the same time.
It's a form of torture, and so the end game scoring piece is quite nice because you're pushing your rewards up, and as your rewards go up, certain items within the game for you become more valuable, and you also figuring out how to collect more of those. And then there's other elements within the end game scoring that you're scoring points from set collection, and so there's quite a lot of elements that allow you to score points during the game. But the game hooks around this wonderful rondel mechanism, and if you need to think 4 moves ahead to get the most out of that rondel, and I'm the number of times you go, I can't, but I can't, but I need to, but I can't. Because you've not structured your ships properly. And then you'll find yourself taking a suboptimal move just to get a ship in the right place to then be able to take the action you wanted to take that turn.
Or 2 turns down.
Or 2 turns down the line. And you get this really weird, because it's not just thinking ahead in the normal way of thinking ahead. Like normally when you're thinking ahead, you'd like, oh, so if I do this, it'll give me availability there. But because you're restructuring your rondel and the number of ships that are in each space, what you thought was a safe bet to get 2 spaces on next turn, as now you've got 3 ships there.
Yeah.
And you, because the rondel itself changes, and each individual has their own rondel, so you are in full control of that. Yeah. And it feels like a solvable puzzle, but wow, is it really hard to solve that puzzle? And Ostia does that really well. So, picking the resources up and then picking an action. Just fantastic.
It stands out to me a little bit because a lot of games, Vladimir Sucky being one, where they force you down, we're going to do all this stuff, I'm going to do all building this time, or I'm going to do all shipping this time. You have to do everything well in Ostia. And it's a balancing act. You're spinning so many plates, but you can't progress your cities until you've built more ships. All right, how do I build? I need to get wood to build more ships, but I've only got 1 ship. I need to put 3 ships in it. So how do I get 3 ships into that part of my rondel? So there's always something going on in Ostia.
It is, I think, formerly one of the cleverest games I've played. The game is clever, but not obnoxiously so.
No one's talking about it though. Well, it's just such a great game.
And I have fun at 2 levels with this one, which has pushed it really high on my list. One is just sitting and trying to figure out what I need to do.
Yeah.
The other one is looking at other people's faces around the table and realising that they're going through exactly the same battle, internal battle, to figure out how to get the most out of this game. And I think we played with Jacob most recently, and I was like, how what do you think? He's like, oh, I need to play the game again. And it's a solvable puzzle that drives the rest of the game.
Yeah, but do I do that set collection now, Phil? Or do I build more cities, which gives me more bonuses on my rondel?
Do I collect more amphoras? Because that's, it's a great game. So my number 2 is Ostia.
So, on to number 1s. I wonder what on earth my number 1 could be, Phil.
What?
So my number 1.
It's not.
It is Ostia.
It is. You're joking.
It is Ostia.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
So
it is now a 3-way crossover.
This box was delivered.
It's huge.
And I was in. It was almost love at first sight. It was like the artwork,
the colour palette's excellent, isn't it?
And then I opened the box and saw the organizer, and I was like, "That's it, marry me." That box, the internal box insert for that is it is probably the most well-organised box inserts I've ever seen. Yeah. It makes setting up of the game an absolute breeze. It's the component quality in that game.
It's really good, yeah.
Oh,
just from a point of view, from a complexity point of view, the game deserves to have a good half-hour setup. And it takes 5 minutes. It's
okay.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's good.
So another game that almost made it onto my list was Atiwa. There were 2 things which made it not so. And one was theme, because I'm slightly uncomfortable with the way that certain parties in the game are represented and how they're explained as educated or uneducated. And another one, that it describes itself as expert level game. Atiwa is not an expert level game. Ostia is, but it has the ease of learning that an expert game doesn't have. So
often doesn't,
Agreed. There's only certain numbers that you can either, you've got what I think is it 5 options of actions on the rondel. Each player has their own player board, and you've got your rondel and you've got your 5 actions, and then you've got your wild action, your administration action, which allows you to do any of the 4 actions other than trade. And
don't forget your trading.
Yeah,
trading's really important.
Early on in the game, who would want to trade? Later on in the game, it's I need to trade.
Yeah, I can't physically get to trade to get that card to give me 12 points before you get there, and so on. But it's one of those, the component quality, each little piece of wood is screen printed. It's each piece of card, it's so well made and manufactured. It's probably one of the best games in terms of production quality I've ever seen. Yeah. The artwork is and the iconography is just beautiful.
I was apologising to you two for taking so long on my turn. You went, don't apologise. We're thinking about what we're going to do.
Yeah, time to think about it. It's one of those games that, and I think what's happened a lot this year is that there's been a lot of comments that there hasn't been much buzz this year. There isn't a game that's got buzz this year. And no, there hasn't been an Art Nova, but Art Nova didn't need the buzz that it did get. Because I think that this year there's been more games that have been really good. So not as much has stood out because they've all been good. But we will talk about that separately on our roundup of 2022 video. But Ostia for me is one of those that I think as a game is faultless. And that's why it became my number one.
I think for me it's the historical aspect as well. Yeah. You've got a little bit.
It's accurate.
Yeah, there's just like the setting it gives you is like. We haven't talked about the route building.
No.
You need to travel across the map, and that gives you a bonus. If you can get to that city before someone else, you will get bonuses if they come after you. It's just the whole thing is.
And they will. They have to. Yeah.
If
you think I think my top game of like 2021 was like Imperial Steam. It's got those similar vibes about you're getting across. If you get to somewhere first, you get the main. It's got that kind of. For me, it's not a surprise to me that is way up on my list.
Yeah, I think it's because you talk about the kind of component quality, and Kickstarter delivers a lot of good components. Like we know that Kickstarter sometimes doesn't deliver a well-developed game, but Ostia manages both, and that
it's clearly been so well play tested as well.
It's a lunch game, I think, is a safe bet.
And so at Board Games, we did an all-day board gaming day 2 weeks ago, and we were teaching two completely new to the game people that had never seen the game before. It was like, oh, that looks interesting, let's do that. And it was so refreshing to be able to easily teach a game of that complexity. And it was things such as the iconography that just makes it so much easier. And actually,
is it available to buy, or is it just Kickstarter, or is it coming? Or
just Kickstarter?
I don't know if it'll come directly to the UK or whether you're going to have to buy it in if you want a copy of it, but it's if you do see someone selling a copy or you see someone playing a copy and it's going to be available to play, just get yourself a game of it.
Yeah.
It's different enough that you'll be pleasantly surprised by the interaction of mechanisms within it. And yes, you might not love it as much as the three of us have, but
give it a second
won't be
play.
Disappointed by it either, I don't think. So I think it's worth it. It's a great, I'm going to say it's a great game.
So it's my number one.
It's great.
Ostia.
Good choice.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thanks.
Right,
I'd say it's an original, but
my number one for 2022 that I managed to play is Terracotta Army by Przemysław Fornal and Adam Kupinski, which is a worker placement game. It has a dartboard action selection, and you have little workers, and you have artisans who are slightly bigger. So you can block people off by upgrading your little workers on the action selection. On the wheel itself, and it moves around every turn, you can get clay, which you're then using to build warriors in a mausoleum or take special actions. You can hire masters. A master costs you 1 coin to go to the first master, which gives you a benefit every time you use that on the action wheel. The crux of the game is which masters are you using this particular game to put the most efficient use of warriors into a mausoleum. The reason that I like this one more so than Tillatum was the fact it's more tactical. So I can interrupt your strategy on the mausoleum board. And it's got a real table presence. It's doing something totally unique. I've played hundreds of Euros. I've not played anything quite like this, where you're placing warriors with different ways to score onto a board. So I really enjoyed the action selection. The endgame scoring, it's a little bit tricky, but I think 2 players, you could probably play it in under an hour if you knew how to play it. So yeah, definitely one to check out. If it's ever at a games day, definitely have a look at Terracotta Army.
Nice.
My number one.
Looking forward to getting to play that one
Oh,
sometime.
I can't wait to teach you.
Yeah.
And it does look great.
Thanks.
So the final one.
The final one is another 3-way crossover. So there we go. Just to finish us off is another 3-way crossover. And I will surprise my colleagues by picking this game, I suspect, because it's probably a little bit lighter than either of them would assume I would put at my number one
Oh,
slot.
it's not. You have, haven't you?
I have. I've put Acropolis as well.
No way.
So my number one game for 2022 is Acropolis, and I'm right. Thank you for watching the video. Hang on.
Oh, really?
I want to hear how you've elevated this to number one status, please, Phil.
Okay.
Is it because it's the most played game?
Okay, you know what? There's an element of truth to that. It's the most played game of the year last year, and that has to tell you something that's happening. Now it's a shorter game, so you'll almost always get more plays of shorter games in anyway. Matt describes it as a filler. I think it's a bit more than a filler. I think it's slightly more complex than a filler. Actually, no, complex isn't the right word. It's more game than a filler game. But it does take half an hour to 45 minutes to play. So we get a few plays in. Why is it so high on my list? Why is it my number one? Well, first and foremost, I caveated this list at the start by saying I've picked by fun.
Yep.
I had more fun playing that game last year than I think any other game I've played. Like it's not just fun playing with experienced gamers. It's fun playing with inexperienced gamers.
Yep. Hi, Mum. Hi, Dad.
People can pick up the game quickly. Understand the concepts of it because it borrows so many concepts from other games. Anyway, you've got an open draft. You've got a resource, plot resources on if you want to buy a slightly better tile for you. Then your tile laying, your tile matching. It's tile set collection basically, and all the elements are there. And it's easy to dismiss it as yet another tile laying game. But a couple of things make it really stand out for me. First and foremost, it's a bit evergreeny. Like it's going to stick around for a while because it's easy to teach, it's easy to play. It's more than just a gateway game, but it's also a gateway game. You play it with experienced gamers, and they'll still get loads out of it. They'll still find the decision making interesting. They'll set their own mini games in it. I do it all the time. Like, okay, can I do a 4th level high city this time? I won't win that game because it's a stupid idea, but I will challenge myself to do silly little things. And it's like, okay, so this game I'm going to ignore purple because that's going to be something like before the game's even started.
Yeah.
Making decisions like that before the game started is not how you win the game. However, like you will set yourself little challenges.
This game, I'm definitely going to get to level 3 on some of my tiles. So you're doing these mini challenges to yourself, really.
And I just find that the game is just consistently fun. And that I can't say about many games at all. Like sometimes you'll have a bad game of, I don't know, whatever.
Great Western Trail recently. I got like 44 points. I don't want to talk about it.
It was a bad game of Trail. But like you will have bad games, but you won't. You'll have games you don't enjoy sometimes. But Acropolis, because part of it is a bit single player, multiplayer, solitary, but the draft makes it more interesting. You'll have fun with the game, and it's like I say, it's easy to dismiss as doing nothing new. But what it does do, it brings a lot of mechanics together that you're very familiar with, and it brings them together in a really streamlined, smooth way that anyone, including your granny, can learn. So there you go.
One thing I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about Acropolis, one of the things it does do that is different is when you put your cubes out to purchase a different tile from the one that's available, the person who then goes and gets that tile doesn't get that cube. They're spent. And that's different. Not that many games do that. You tend to be left there for whoever takes that tile.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall when the game designer come up with it. Right, yeah, that's a good. We're going to get rid of those. Yeah. That's a really nice touch. That is, Kirsty.
And for me, it just works every time. And it's probably my new, because it teaches so many mechanics from other games nicely. It probably becomes one of my gateway game choice go-to games as well now, and I know that I will play that game again and again when I'm introducing people to the hobby, and I'm always excited to find a new game that helps people access further into the hobby. And Acropolis is like, I'm gonna say it's not quite Ticket to Ride in that respect, but it's not far off, and it needs to get the respect and love it deserves because it's a fantastic game. So that's my number one choice, Acropolis.
Good choice.
Yeah, I had a couple of that were near misses.
I was going to say, were there any near misses?
Throw them out, but my number 11 was Evergreen.
Good choice.
I think that card play and the ability to grow certain areas of the board, it must have been play tested to death. It's just such a sweet the whole thing, the whole production.
And delivers close games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good. My number 12 was Autobahn. I wanted to like it more than I did initially. I've played a full game of it now, and the mechanisms are clever. It's pick up and delivery, it's route building, lots of things that I like. And I've talked to some other friends about playing it, Kev and Andy and Jacob, and they're all like, actually, we didn't enjoy the demo, so we're probably not going to play it with you. So I'm in a bit of a quandary with that one now, whereas I like it and I want to play it more, but they're such a bad experience.
Bring it over. Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
How's the rule book?
The rules, okay. It was okay. It's okay, not fantastic.
I found rules from that particular publisher to be bad to unpalatably bad.
No, it's not the best, but there's some online resources to help. My last one, 13, was a game called Federation, where you're voting on different aspects and how to progress up different tracks, and I can interrupt your voting process. And it was just a real pleasant and unique experience. So Federation, it was good. If you got friends that like high interaction and pushing each other up and down tracks, that's a good one to look out for.
Yeah, definitely games that missed out on my list that they are worthy of note. Come Together stands out, I think, as being a game that it's a fantastic game. It's so well themed. It's so well structured. It's an absolutely cracking game, and it just missed out. Like, there are games that just missed out because it's a top 10 list.
Yeah, but you had more fun playing Scout than you did. Yeah, so it's interesting. A nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
And it's that idea of fun really sat high on my list of priorities when picking these games. And it's definitely, for me, been a lighter list than I would normally pick.
Yeah.
But actually, they're the games I've had fun with most last year.
Yeah, sounds rewarding.
I was surprised by the number of card mechanics in games that made it when I started off being someone who, if it's a card game, I'm not going near
Just when you think games can't progress anymore, they bring out all these different and new and unique mechanisms, don't they?
It's great.
And it's there's been the releases last year. There were some really great releases last year, and they are well worth tracking down and playing because they give a lot of joy. And I think we've played a lot of games we've enjoyed over the last 12 months.
I think if we'd had more time to play and circumstances had been slightly different, there may have been even more choices because we've brought games back from various conventions.
I think we could both do a top 10 list of games we still want to play from 2022. If you've got any ideas for top 10 lists, pop it in the comments. We can always have a chat, see what we could do.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Do you agree with our choices? Let us know.
What was your game of 2022? We'd love to know.
Yes.
So, hopefully you found the video entertaining and useful. If you have, like and subscribe.
Don't forget, we're also on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Just search for Ludus Vulpes.
And check out Board Game Picks.
Thanks, Phil. Cheers.
See you soon, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.